An investment of almost $600 million was done in that airport, Kotoka International Airport. Fortunately, before we left office in September, I remember that a valuation of the airport was done. A valuation study of Kotoka Airport was done, and was valued, if I remember, at 5-point-something billion Ghana cedis. That is the valuation of the airport. It also had an insured value, and the insured value was somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 billion cedis.
That's quite huge.
Huge amount, because a lot of money had been invested in the airport, and it
over the period,
and it had become categorized as one of the 5 best airports in Africa. One of the 5 best airports. And then I saw a strange, development where a Turkish company is being given a concession to take over the airport and run it. The concession is a disguise. Behind that, in the period of the concession, 66% of the ownership share of the airport will be transferred to the Turkish company at a cost of $70 million. Even if you
compared to $600 million as you said,
investment and a value of in excess of 5 billion cedis. I mean, for $70 million, we're giving 66% shares of our airport, to a Turkish company. And so I said, we're against it. It is wrong. Every country's airport is its pride. You can have a management agreement to get somebody to manage it properly for you, and based on that, you pay them a certain, amount of money. But this is not an ordinary management agreement. They're going to get 2% of the revenues as management fee. But in addition, 66% of the ownership share of the airport is going to be transferred to them for $70 million. And I think that is absolutely wrong. Even if you sold some of the lands around the airport, you'll be able to raise far more than $70 million. So if it's $70 million we want, the other ways of raising it, the value of the lands around the airport alone are far in excess of $70 million. And I think that is wrong to give up our airport like that. They talk about not being able to service the loans that were taken to develop the airport. Now, I just want to tell this government, in any agreement, there are clauses for force majeure. It means that if there's an act of God or an act of nature, that makes it impossible for you to fulfill your obligations.
Like COVID-19.
At the time these loans were contracted, nobody knew COVID was going to happen. And COVID is affecting all airports around the world because it's affected aviation. And so all you need is to trigger the force majeure clauses and let the financiers know that, look, this is a situation that has arisen. And normally in those circumstances, they are able to, make some concessions. Aside from that, these loans are insured anyway. And so if government hasn't triggered force majeure, the way to go is not to try to sell off the airport, but to engage the financiers and have a rescheduling of the facility. Aside from that, there are many other ways that you can handle a situation like that. Rather than give out 66% of our shares in that airport, COVID is going to pass. As soon as the vaccination is received, airports will open again, flights will start coming in, revenue will start, coming in. But government even created the situation in the first place. The way I was able to get Airport Company Limited to build Terminal 3 was to release 60% of the airport passenger tax to them. The airport passenger tax is $100. We used to give airport company $40, and we put $60 in the consolidated fund. And so when I asked them to build Terminal 3, they came with a proposal and said, if you release our share, the 60% to us, we will use it to set up a financial structure to build Terminal 3. And so in the next budget cycle, we released their $400 passenger service tax to them. And if Kotoka is doing about 2 million passengers a year, then $100 times 2 million passengers is about $200 million. So they used that, went to Stanbic and African Development Bank and structured that facility. Now when this government comes, they put what they call a Capping and Realignment Act. And so out of the $100, they cap it. And so if financing of the various funds, if the money into the various funds exceeds 25% of the national budget, all the excess money is taken from the funds, including the airport tax.
Which
so government, that money that we had released to airport company, the government started taking out of it and putting it back in the consolidated fund. Then aside from that, despite the fact that they had structured the facility on the airport tax, they took out part of that money, the airport tax, and gave to civil aviation, took part of it, gave to meteorological services. So the amount left began to become dangerously low and unable to service the debts. I mean, this is what government did. Whether deliberately or not deliberately, I don't know. But it would look like somebody wanted this financing structure to fail so that they could sell off the airport. I don't know.